welcome back to Visited by Voices Live, Just Talking Genre, the show where we talk about what you want to talk about mostly. Though for about 10 minutes today, that's not going to be the case. Joined today by my co-host, Sam.
I'm 2 beers in. I apologize ahead of time.
That sounds like the best news that's happened today. Also joined by the great Piz.
Hoi hoi.
Hoi hoi. And from Dan from Flesh Wound Features.
What's up, Lauren?
So I think all of us saw a movie today. Is that about right?
I saw it last night in a packed theater.
You beat us to the misery. So what I want to do, well, first off, let me say just in the chat, if you have questions for us tonight, just throw them up in the chat. Either Sam or myself will get to them as we see them. And my apologies if we are taking a bit longer because Sam is partially drunk and I'm still annoyed. But what I want to do for the opening of the show is we're going to spend 10 minutes on a film called Scream. Not the film from the 90s, which at least had a modicum of, relevance to my life. Instead, the film from this year that I saw today. So I'm going to give each participant 2.5 minutes to run and give us their thoughts or take us wherever they would like. So this is my Sam.
Spoiler warning.
Go.
All right. Spoilers ahead. Turn off the stream if you don't want to know. Fuck this movie. It basically just evolves into Scream 4 at the end. If you've seen Scream 4, you don't need to see Scream 5. Fuck this movie. There's nothing really original happening. I don't care when I didn't give a shit when Dewey died. It didn't give me one single damn tear. Fucking Courtney Cox looks like Willem Dafoe now. I don't know what's going on with her plastic surgeon. Like Neve Campbell's barely phoning in her lines. She's turning into Courtney Cox. I could barely tell them apart. I don't care about the rest of the group mostly. Randy's niece and nephew are there. They're cool. I'm down with them. The killers suck. It's just, this is a pointless movie. It's the Matrix Resurrections of the Scream franchise. I sat in seat H8 according to my ticket, and I did indeed hate this movie. And all through the movie, you see these things, for Wes, for Wes, for Wes, because there's a character called Wes that gets killed off, and they're celebrating his life. And I'm like, I get it. You're not funny. Also, they go on about toxic fandom and about requels and elevated horror. And the thing is, they're talking about the toxic fandom. They're the ones that want things to go back to the original, how like the old stab movies used to be. And so they're trying to do a requel. And I'm like, motherfucker, that's not what we want. Some of us just want these fucking movies to stop. We don't want your goddamn requels anymore. We just want no more movies and give us some original IP, and I am done.
Are you actually done?
Yes.
You have a little bit of time to go.
Oh, you beat your time.
No, I'm good. I'm good.
All right.
I said what I needed to say. Also, Wes Craven would be embarrassed by the fact that Billy Loomis's ghost is floating the fuck around here. Now I'm done.
Okay, Piz, she just gives you an extra 30 seconds or so.
Cool. Tell me when to go.
Go.
I liked it. The third act I thought had some issues, but I think the third act in pretty much all the Scream movies have issues. The motivation that Sam mentioned, I rolled my eyes really far back into my skull when that was the motivation. Aside from that, though, I liked it. I actually enjoyed the whole thing with the Sam character and her seeing things that aren't there. I kind of like that part of it. That made her unreliable. If she's seeing that that's not there, what else is she seeing that may not be there? I like the kills. I thought the kills were pretty good. Liked most of the characters. I enjoyed it. I would say it's I may want to sit with it a little bit longer, but it would have to be my favorite Scream sequel at this point. Maybe I'll revisit 2 at some point. I don't know. But and I got to give it extra points for truncating that killer monologue at the end. That was about the right length that it needed to be. It didn't need to be any longer. So, but I liked it.
I was
Wow.
only heavy sighing at the fact that, with the Sam character that we have to hear, "Hello, Samantha," at least twice, and I hate my full name. That's my heavy sigh, not a criticism.
Dan, you've been gifted a lot more time. Go for it.
All right. So let's be real. The Scream franchise as a whole is not great. For me, it's never held a special place in my heart. I did grow to appreciate the first film later on. But I mean, 3's garbage. 2's fine. 4 is not very good. It's not. I mean, I didn't. The bar was very low for this film, but I actually had fun. I think it's by far the best sequel. The more I really think about it, there are a lot of things you can pick at as far as one of the killers being able to, I don't know, I guess Hulk up and take out a trained police officer. Hand-to-hand combat. When you think about certain things later, sure, yeah, there's a lot to pick at. I had fun though. I can't lie. It was actually a pretty good crowd. People were respectful with their phones for once. And yeah, I had a good time. The best compliment I can pay it is I liked pretty much all the new characters, which is rare. Nobody annoyed me with any lack of acting ability or anything like that. I hope this is the last hurrah for the legacy characters. That if they're going to continue, which I don't think they need to, leave that alone now. There's nothing left to do. Yeah. Now, the ending, I don't need to give it away or anything. It's just they don't reinvent the wheel. It's still a Scream movie. I mean, I was thinking man, are they going to do something really ballsy, like a heel turn on one of the legacy characters? It's nothing like that. It's a Scream movie. I think it's a lot more fun than the sequels. If you're a big fan of the franchise, more likely than not, I think you'll like this. That's all I got to say.
Yeah.
All right.
Is there any
minutes?
Is there any time left where I can throw in Jeremy's thoughts?
Do it now.
Oh yeah.
Jeremy, his favorite part was when Dewey got killed. That was his favorite part.
So I have 4 minutes here on the clock. Once upon a time, a college professor decided to give up his tenure teaching and go make a film in the woods with another amateur filmmaker, and they made a film called Last House on the Left, which fundamentally changed the horror film. No longer did you require a big studio, elaborate effects, or even a complete screenplay to actually film a movie, get it released, and have a huge impact across America. During the video revolution, Last House on the Left was one of those films that across the pond you couldn't even rent. Here, it was still sort of taboo. It was just barely on this side of the red curtain that separated the adult films from the mainstream films. Wes Craven made a few other great films in his career. Unfortunately, I don't consider Scream to be one of them. I've never liked this franchise. It's never connected with me. I will say that after the great horror drought of the 90s, when Scream kicked open the doors, I was very thankful for the film. And on that first watch, it did seem a lot fresher than even that first rewatch made it seem. So with that backstory, my expectations for this film were not much, except for the directors, the Radio Silence guys. Ready or Not is one of my favorite films in the last few years, and that was the only glimmer of hope I was walking in with. I had zero hope that we would get any further down the road with the legacy characters into any interesting territory, and of course we did not. The film opens with an almost beat-for-beat remake of the first film's opening scene. And in retrospect, it's problematic if you think about the setup, in that it just doesn't work, and it's really aimed at the audience, not at the characters on screen, which is always the sign of bad writing. But the film only kind of gets more boring from there, as the first two acts are really just a vague remake of the first and second film's structure. But still, bored was one thing. When I got to the third act, the film becomes something else entirely different, and it's fairly insulting to any viewer that's not already on board and actively rooting for the film. A number of characters are either stabbed or shot in the midsection, but continue to fight as if they are basically unaffected, except for by the Kara syrup and food coloring that is staining their clothing. Basic anatomy and basic medicine says that none of these characters would be upright, let alone continuing to fight. But I think every character in the finale is seriously wounded but continues to fight, including one who's been wounded seriously for the entire film. There's also this insane thing about an inhaler, which on any circumspect doesn't work. I'm so tired of this plot device where the villain's plan relies on things that he cannot control to happen in order for his plot to come to fruition. This film tries to justify it by having a clever line where a character says, I can't believe that worked, but it's just lazy screenwriting. And I think that's where the problem with this movie lies, is that the screenplay is just a logical nightmare, and it is so just tied and tethered to trying to make this a legitimate entry in a franchise that's long since outlasted its value, that it's just kind of a mess. So it's mostly boring, and then it's insulting, and then it ends, and there's a hip-hop song in the beginning that kind of caught me off guard because I expected it to be a hip-hop version of Red Right Hand, but was not. And with that, we come to the end of our Scream Talk.
Good riddance. On to better things.
I still say check it out.
Well, we're horror fans. We're required to. It's the law. But I'm still annoyed at it.
I don't just say check it out. I say I recommend it. I recommend it.
And I'm not going to violate my statement. I'm not going to speak anymore about it. That was it. There was a couple comments which unfortunately seem to have disappeared from the top of the chat today. We were asked about our favorite Hammer movies. I know Dan is going to be quick on the draw on this.
Sure. So I'll cheat a little bit and take the Dracula movies out of it. Horror of Dracula to me is probably the best of that. I think the Frankenstein films, Curse of Frankenstein's amazing. But just to throw out a couple not connected to those, the Karnstein trilogy, although Lust is not as good as the other two, Vampire Lovers and Twins of Evil. Lust for a Vampire is good, but it's not quite in league with those two. I also really like Devil Rides Out. I always really love that movie. It doesn't get talked about enough. Plague of the Zombies. If you haven't seen that, it's that zombie movie that came out a few years before the one everybody remembers. But I love Plague. Curse of the Werewolf. Now that's one not everybody likes, but I do like. I think Oliver Reed's great in that. Brides of Dracula, which I guess is still a Dracula flick, but nonetheless, kind of, sort of. I also like Abominable Snowman, which is another one. It's not usually on like a best of or anything. Of course, Quatermass in the Pit. And you could consider it. I know some people lump it in with the Karnstein trilogy, but Captain Kronos. I have a signed Carolyn Monroe Captain Kronos poster on my wall, so I got to throw that one out there too. And I'm not going to name like New Hammer, but I mean, hey, Let Me In's really good. It's one of the better remakes out there. So if you want to check that out, I don't want to go for an hour on this.
What was that? What was the New Hammer that had Harry Potter in it? Lady in Black or something like that? What was it?
Yeah.
Woman in Black.
Woman in Black. I remember that one being pretty good.
Yeah, that was good. And The Lodge is a Hammer movie. I keep forgetting that for some reason, but so they're still making great horror.
Yep.
Yeah. I wish they marketed it a little bit better as like Hammer, but yeah.
Piz, do you have favorite Hammers?
Well, since I forgot that the Lodge was a Hammer, the Lodge would be right up there. I honestly, the older Hammer stuff I used to love as a kid because it was always on the USA Network, like the Captain USA's whatever show. He was always playing those Hammer vampire flicks, and I loved them. But I haven't really. I don't remember the last time I saw like an old school Hammer flick. To be honest, it's been a while.
That's why we need UHF stations back. It really is.
We just need old US. We need the old school USA Network back.
We need all of that back. All of it.
Mm.
Sam, do you have favorite Hammer films?
No, I actually didn't realize Woman in Black and also besides the Lodge, Let Me In. I didn't realize those were Hammer films. And hey, if I had known that, I'd probably be more interested in having to get gotten around to them. But nope, I have no Hammer films that I have seen in my library.
So my top 5 Hammer films, and I think I've done this before, but Twins of Evil is a masterpiece. It just is. Devil Rides Out, as Dan already pointed out, is my number 2. Number 3 is To the Devil a Daughter, which is not the film anyone expects it to be, but is easy to love once you watch. Number 4 is actually one of the revival Hammer films, but it's not one we've mentioned yet. It's The Quiet Ones, which is a film that I can watch in a heartbeat, and it feels like it's about 10 minutes long to me because it flies by every time. No one talks about it. I think it's brilliant. And my 5th is actually another film that we haven't talked about yet, but it's related. Quatermass 2, which I actually prefer to Quatermass and the Pit. It's a quirkier film, and it's more properly, I guess, dark sci-fi than horror. But I think it's a film that only Hammer could have made. So I think one of the things that the reason we're still talking about this company, and the reason that this company came back when so many others like Amicus did not, is because Hammer really took horror out of the shadow of Universal. Universal had stopped making monster movies for a good 10 years. By then, of course, the giant monsters of the 50s had filled the gap. But Hammer brought us back to the castles of old Europe and to those classic stories, but also reinvented them for a modern age. I don't think you'd have Famous Monsters of Filmland without Hammer. And if you don't have Famous Monsters of Filmland, I don't think you have us, because you wouldn't have Fangoria. So all of us grew up in the aftermath of what Hammer continued from the golden age, and I think they're that important of a studio. So the Brits got something right in the 60s, that's for sure.
It's funny you mentioned To the Devil a Daughter, because I like that one a lot as well. It always kind of has that reputation for being like the last stand for Hammer, although it's not actually the last movie, but that was the one that was supposed to save the sinking ship. But I love Hammer. You can't really go wrong if anybody hasn't like dipped their toes. I mean, some movies are better than the others, but there's a lot of fantastic films to dive into. And if you don't do it soon, at least do it by October. I always have a Hammer marathon around Halloween season. But Frankenstein over the Dracula movies as a whole.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think that when they swung for the fences with those Frankenstein films, amazing things happened. And The Monster from Hell is a bizarre film, but it works.
I don't dislike any of the Frankenstein films.
Now, whereas you have to deal with Dracula in 1972 at some point, right? With the Dracula movies.
I have a Dracula 72 poster though, so I don't hate it. I like it, but it's not cracking any top 10.
It is the Godzilla versus the Smog Monster of that franchise, though.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, let's get to something where everyone else can participate. So it's not just Dan and I talking about
Hammer horror film.
I want to know what kind of beer Sam's drinking.
I actually had just Sam Adams Holiday Porter. Nothing fancy.
I had friends over last weekend, and I bought something called Seasick Crocodile for them. It was a beer with cranberry flavor, and none of them would drink it. So it's
Oh.
still here. So it'll probably be here forever. I just
That's
thought the name was cool.
That actually sounds good. Cranberry beer.
I know,
Is
I drink
is it legal to send it through the mail? Because you might be receiving it then, Piz.
I've gotten quite a bit of alcohol sent to me through the mail, actually. So just package it nice. Just, be discreet about it.
So that,
Don't
does
tell
that mean
them
I
what it
can or
is.
cannot draw a cat on the package?
But it's cat food inside.
So the other question we had was our top shallows.
I have no answer for that, but I did see somebody asking on Twitter if Scream is considered a modern giallo.
No.
I was like, I don't know anything about the giallos, and I'm like, mm-mm.
Not some people just think a murder. If any murder mystery any murder mystery slasher is a giallo, or somehow has giallo roots. I mean, it's not just that it's a murder. That giallos are murder mysteries. There's other, there's other things.
Some lump any Italian horror movie as a giallo too. So
Right.
It can be a little confusing, but I think Lauren and I are going to have similar answers on this. Obviously, Argento. I think those are the ones everybody knows. So
There's only one Argento on my list though of top 5.
yeah, because I think we're both Sergio Martino
Yeah.
guys. Because I think, man, I mean he usually always hit a home run with his giallos, and I don't know if it's the best giallo ever made, but I think it's the best one nobody has really seen, and that's House with Laughing Windows.
My number 1.
Yeah, it ranks really high for me too. We did on Flesh Wound a big giallo retrospective not too long ago, and every time I revisit House with Laughing Windows, I'm just like, man, that is a really good horror movie. Even if you don't care for giallos, that's one that might still get you. But Sergio Martino, dive into all of his. And if you want to go sleazy, Strip Nude for Your Killer is a lot of fun. Giallo in Venice is horrible, but yeah, for bad movie night, you'll have a blast with Giallo in Venice. So there's a few for you.
Yeah, so House of Laughing Windows is my favorite giallo. That's been something I've discussed a long time. Although recently, All the Colors of the Dark has become more of a constant rewatch for me. I think that film. I think what's great about that film is it challenges a lot of people's perceptions of a giallo, because it goes back to the roots of the yellow spine paperbacks. It goes to that kind of sleazy psychedelic era of fiction, of men's fiction. That really is what the genre really is. It's not always just black gloved killers, although that element is in the film as well. But there's also satanic orgies and psychedelic drug trips and a time loop before Nightmare 4 that Nightmare 4 completely ripped off. My number 3 is Don't Torture a Duckling. Fulci's finest straight narrative. So if you remove his gore gothic period and you remove his comedies and his rock and roll flicks, Don't Torture a Duckling is just a minor masterpiece, maybe, but a masterpiece. I love the movie. Deep Red is number 4. I don't think Argento ever really did better. Suspiria is a more stylish and probably more effective film, but when you go back and watch Deep Red, it's painterly. It's an amazing achievement, and I don't think enough people really, even today, give it the credit it's due, especially considering a lot of prime Argento is starting to not look as good as it once did to my eyes anyway. Something like Phenomena, which I once thought of in kind of similar terms to Deep Red, is now kind of, to me, a far cry from it. So let's celebrate the thing that's enduring really well, and I think Deep Red is that film. And number 5 is Your Vice is a Locked Door and Only I Have the Key. So Martino takes 2 spots. Martino's version of The Black Cat is simply the best, because he was smart enough to not just do the Black Cat story. He was smart enough to raise it up in proper giallo fashion. So all the sleaze, all the weird red herrings, all the role reversals, all the stunt casting, but then subverting expectations with the stunt casting. It's all there. If you're a fan of Italian cinema, that movie is a gold mine every moment it's on screen.
Yeah.
Any other giallos you guys want to scream out?
Delirium. That's one that's been at the top of my list for ever since I saw it. I love that movie so much. I'd have to agree with you on Deep Red. And I have to agree with you too on Phenomena. That's one of my least favorite Argento Golden Era giallos. I think there's a lot to like about it. It's just, I don't know. It's never really done it for me the way that some of the others have. Your Vice is a locked room and only I have the key. That's a more recent watch that I really liked. Did anybody mention Torso?
No,
Martino as
but
well.
yeah, I love Torso.
This is why when Martino needs to be a bigger name inside the insular horror community. He really does. We spent so much time talking Argento and Fulci, and I love both those artists, but I think pound per pound, Martino's right there.
I can't think of too many Sergio Martino films that didn't entertain me. I mean, when Fulci was at his peak, I mean, good Lord, there's not many that were better. But even some of Sergio's non-horror genre stuff later, like he was always dependable for a fun movie. And some of the stuff he did into the 90s, late 80s, 90s was just batshit. Like, I don't know what I want to do, so I'm just going to do this, and this. Let's just blend them all together.
Scorpion's Tail is good. That one's also a good one.
You
mean like American Rickshaw, for instance?
Yeah.
American Rickshaw.
Yeah.
Did you saw that one? Yeah.
Yes, I love American Rickshaw. Yeah.
Murders in the Crucian Tombs.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
What if Raiders of the Lost Ark was a really sleazy Euro horror movie? It's not something that someone sane takes on. That movie's kind of hard to find. Like, there's not a proper release of that, is there?
No, not did what's that company? 17? Didn't they put out a DVD? I'd have to double check my library on that one, but it's not a good one if they did. Nobody mentioned What Have You Done to Solange, although that dropped a few notches for me when I did some of my retrospectives, but I do love that one quite
I like
a bit.
people more. What have they done?
Yeah, which is also on Blu-ray now. That's the one plus, guys. If you're like writing these down, most of these are available. Sadly, House with Laughing Windows is just an out-of-print DVD. They need to do something with that one. But Lizard in a Woman's Skin, another Fulci that I love quite a bit.
Remember that one?
Yeah.
If you like psychedelia and nudity, that is your movie.
Yes, Florinda Balkan.
Who doesn't like those? One Argento movie that nobody ever really talks about that I think is really great is his first giallo, Bird with the Crystal Plumage. Yeah, I think that was really good.
Yeah,
I think Plumage's problem is that the domestic scenes in it, the budding love stories are painful. They're actually they're clumsy filmmaking, and then you get these big bravado action sequences that are just amazing, and it doesn't feel as refined as what came later. But
right.
I love Crystal Plumage. Although I'm gonna say this out loud, would someone please get the color timing on one of these releases right? Because we're still not right. I don't get it. If you ever get a chance to see a 35 millimeter print of that film, do so, and then go back and you'll be angry about every video releases just can't nail the color theme. It's bizarre. And it's not because these companies don't care, because they do. But I mean, do you remember I'm sure you bought the Anchor Bay VHS when it came out of it, or the DVD, because it was the same print
of Crystal Plumage.
Yeah.
I had the DVD.
Yeah. I remember how the only, like, you looked and it was the first time to get it widescreen anywhere, because even though Japanese Laserdisc was cropped improperly, and that was like everyone was really happy, but it was so color drained. Bird with the Crystal Plumage at the height of that movie is as colorful as Suspiria, but you'd never know it from any of these video releases.
I've noticed a number of these Giallo movies, even on Blu-ray, they have that drained kind of look about them, which is kind of, another thing people think about Giallo, they picture Suspiria. They picture the bright colors and everything's got to be super stylish and kind of over the top visually. That's not in every Giallo. A lot of Giallos do that, but that's not every Giallo.
No, and that's kind of, so a lot of the better filmmakers were weaponizing that and using like ultra bright sequences very specifically in their films, but going for a more refined look for most of it. Again, All the Colors of the Night does that. Called All the Colors of the Dark does that brilliantly.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when that movie decides to go psychedelic, you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
But
Blade in the Dark's another one that's grown on me. The first time I saw that movie, I was like, "Oh, this is boring. I don't like this. This sucks." Blah blah. But it's grown on me. I really like it now.
The bathroom murder sequence is pretty great.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it comes too early in the film, and it really doesn't leave the film a lot of places to go because something that brutal early.
It's funny because I've done Slashtober, Slashmas, and when I get more burnt out like on slashers, but like when we did the Giallo stuff, even like the bad, like Giallo in Venice is a blast. I mean, that movie's garbage, but in the best possible way. A lot of them hold up quite well. It's amazing. I mean, there's a few I didn't care for, but and I still didn't care for, but yeah, dive into some Giallo, guys. I think you'll find something. They're not all the same. Like I said, if you're a pervert, Strip Nude for Your Killer, Giallo in Venice. There's the seedier side of Giallo. There you go, Piz.
And there's a lot of them that are, if you've got Shudder, they've got a whole they've got a lot of Giallo stuff on Shudder.
Yeah, there's
they
new fans.
They have what?
Giallo wrestling.
I promise
I'm
you,
sure.
watch Strip Nude for Your Killer. You're not going to need.
You're good. You get.
I mean, the movie
covered.
ends with the most tasteless joke imaginable on screen. So, all right. So, do we have any other questions out there, Sam? Did you notice?
Oh God, my mouse is lagging. Bear with me. It's not me. It's actually my mouse.
Your mouse is lagging.
I don't know. I need a Windows update. I don't understand computers. I just update it when it tells me to, and I hope it works. Well, we've got.
Griff is asking about Shortened Night of Glass Dolls. It's good, but it's a programmer. It fits right in with the movement. It's not a groundbreaker. I would suggest. I mean, that's out of print now. I think because that was part of. I want to say the label that put that out is out of business.
Twilight Time, I believe.
Yeah, it was Twilight Time.
I think you can still get a lot of those. It's kind of weird, but yeah, I wouldn't say it's a good starter film. I do like it, but yeah, it's not a great starter film. And like, yeah, Martino or Argento, if you haven't seen any, or Fulci, like start there.
Okay. We do have one from Cliff Booth.
Bring it up.
All right. Any one of you seen Santa Sangra, 1989?
I've actually never seen Santa Sangra.
So what is that about?
That's a good question. It's a revenge murder mystery Western drug flick.
They just covered all the bases.
All right.
Pretty much. If you were sitting there saying Holy Mountain is a bit too long for me, Santa Sangra is probably the way to go.
I have with Jodorowsky. I've tried. It's a tough one. I never know what to recommend to people. I have found more like Santa Sangra more than El Topo or Holy Mountain. I say see them all, but I don't know. Santa Sangra I've had more luck recommending to people.
Well, there's a through line plot to that movie. So that's
Yeah.
I mean, I always tell people if they want to get into Jodorowsky that, you have to be ready that, it's very possible that in a movie like Holy Mountain, at some point, women wearing giraffe masks are going to lactate onto your hero. That's just going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
That sounds like a bitchy good time.
I love Holy Mountain, but it's not for everyone.
No.
Not for everyone at all. So I did see an awesome movie this week. El Paramo, or The Beast, or if you're watching it on Netflix, Netflix, I believe it's called, they have it titled The Wasteland. And if you like the A24 slow burn, high concept, really excellent filmmaking, it is an amazing film. From Spain. It's weirdly near future, but that plays almost no role in it. It just happens to be set so they can have this sense of horrific isolation.
Okay.
I mean, some people are just not going to have patience with it, and I get that. And if you read the reviews online, a lot of people saying it's boring. Not me. Give me a world that feels desperate and lost, and like let me stew in it for a couple hours, and I'm a happy man. And this did that. I can't really. I feel that if A24 had bought this thing and released it, we wouldn't be blinking. We would go, oh yeah, that makes perfect sense. It's their type of film. So if you get a hold of a copy, I'm hearing that there's a dubbed version. That might be the one that Netflix has. That is not a wonderful dub. So you might want to turn on the subtitles and just watch it in its native tongue.
Yeah, I'm going to check that out. I know you'd mentioned it before. I really want to see that. And did any of you that were at Scream catch the title for? It kind of looked like it wasn't A24, but it kind of looked like the Witch sort of folk horror film. And
you mean that Foo Fighters horror movie?
Was it
Foo Fighters horror movie? Is what you're talking about?
I wish I caught the title, and I should have figured it.
666.
No, it wasn't Studio 666.
Okay.
No, it's
I don't
weird.
think I got a trailer for that.
Oh, it's funny. I can't wait.
Yeah, I didn't see the trailer. I did. I mean, I saw that outside of Scream, but I mean, X looks like a blast.
Excellent. Yep, X looks good. X looks good.
Oh.
Yes.
Nice to see Ty West working with big boys who can get his films actually out there on screens, right?
Yeah, no kidding.
I saw a movie that I know Sam and Dan both liked a lot called Come True, and I liked it a lot also.
Okay.
That one would definitely be on like my top, probably in my top 5 of last year. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if I fully grasped everything that was going on. I mean, I kind of got it. I think that little message at the end kind of tells you, because there was definitely like in the beginning of the movie, we were in a certain time period. And then in another part of the movie, we were in a different time period. And the shadow, I think, so I mean, I think I kind of get what was going on there, but really liked it a lot. But I could see how it could divide people, especially at the end, because it just goes like, It
goes a little, whoa.
It goes, yeah, but I liked that whoa, because I was like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see a sequel to it, but it's kind of hard because it mixes up, it divides the acts into different archetypes, and then it's like, oh, but there's shadow people. Oh, but there's cymatics. And I'm like, you're putting all the things I want in this movie, but I don't know if they all make sense.
It's
And
a
I really
second
like that.
watch flick for sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's one you could definitely rewatch. And that the actress who was in it was so good. She looked
Oh,
like she was like 12 years old, but it's like she is so freaking good.
Yeah. I actually had kind of a mini Karen Kusama binge this week because I watched The Invitation
Oh,
and had some fun
yeah.
with that. And I thought, man, she's fantastic at keeping this atmosphere of just tension and just, man, this is the dinner party from hell, and I would not want to be in a room with any of these people. And then, followed that up with Jennifer's Body just as a nice little palate cleanser. And damn, those are both really enjoyable.
Isn't she still doing like a Dracula movie, or did that fall apart?
Do not know.
Is it one
Would be
time
nice.
she was supposed to be doing like a Dracula?
She's not doing the Nick Cage Dracula, is she?
I don't
Oh,
think
wow.
so. I don't think so.
Okay.
She's done Yellow Jackets, apparently. At least one episode that I can see, which I
Maybe
hear
the-
nothing but good things about.
Maybe the Dracula thing fell apart, but I think the Dracula movie was supposed to be like from the perspective of Mina, and Dracula was like a toxic, so maybe we dodged a bullet.
Mm.
I think a lot of the Blum Universal deal are kind of officially on hold.
Mm.
Which again, I support 100% them being officially on hold.
Blum needs to stop. They need a break.
They need an intervention, is what they need.
You're right. Thank you. That's
They need
better.
to sit down with them and say, "We get what you think you're doing, but it's not working, and this is going to cause a reputation stain that you're not going to be able to get out from under."
Everybody sits down around Jason Blum. Jamie Lee Curtis reads him a long letter.
Only if they pay her to do it. But I mean, really, if you take The Hunt out of the question, what over the last 10 years would make you like actively want to see a Blumhouse film? It gets hard.
Did they do Sinister?
They did.
Not Sinister. Oh, they did do Sinister. Okay. I was thinking Insidious. Did they do Insidious?
Insidious.
Okay.
But how long are we talking now?
Yeah, I mean that was a while back. Both of those were a while back. Yeah.
Any hope for Black Phone? I mean,
listen, I'm glad that they're adapting something from Joe Hill and not screaming that they're adapting it from Joe Hill, with the obvious byline that comes under that. But by the same rate, like, I hope it's the small, like, slow frog on in the heating pad that it looks like it is. I hope it's not something goofy.
Yeah.
It looks. I'm interested to see it. I'm hoping for the best. I like Scott Derrickson. I think he's done some good flicks. So,
and he did that rather than Doctor Strange. So, so Darren Burrows is asking top 5 Mario Bava films.
Oh.
Now, outside the number one choice, which is only one sane choice for.
Well, I'm gonna go take a leak.
Well,
I'll just bring this. I'm excited to check this one out. I've never seen this one. Shock. I just got it the other day, so I'm excited to check it out. I don't think I'd ever even heard of it, but it's got Daria Nickelodeon.
You know it under a different title. That's the problem.
What's the other title?
Beyond the Door 2.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
I like it. Daria Nicolodi having psychotic visions and her creepy kid trying to, with some weird Oedipal syndrome going on. The actual haunting side of it is not nearly as good as watching the actors parade around and be kind of insane. But
It's, I mean, Black Sunday for me. Anybody that's listened, I mean, I consider that one of the best horror movies ever made. And Baba is absolutely in the discussion for best horror director ever. And I mean, he was a jack of all trades too. So he was involved in everything for his productions. And he never went to crap with his films, which most Italian icons did. Unfortunately, when the Italian industry moved more towards TV. Now he may have gotten there eventually, but yeah, Black Sunday. I mean, of course, Bay of Blood, Black Sabbath. I could just list off all of his movies. You can't go wrong with Mario Bava.
I was going to say, it seems to me like, I mean, he has such a rich catalog of movies. It seems like Bay of Blood is the one that is always, that's like the most well-known film of his. And I'm not a,
It's not great.
it's I don't think it's a very good movie. It's interesting to watch because it's kind of that bridge between the giallo and the slasher, but it's not that great. Yeah, it's definitely not his high point. Nowhere near his high point.
It was a rescued film, really. Like, he stepped in. There were a lot of production issues with that. So when you consider what he was able to do with it, it's quite impressive. And obviously we all saw what ripped it off later on.
Right.
But no, I wouldn't put that at the top. I mean, Black Sunday, I think, is a masterpiece.
Black Sunday is by far one of the best horror films ever made. So it's obviously at the top of the list for Bava. You know, my number 2 film for Bava is actually not a horror film. It's Danger Diabolique.
Yeah.
Which is just one of the craziest films you'll ever see. And most people only know it from a Beastie Boys video, but it's based on a comic book, but it's based on a comic book about a villain. And it is nuts. And it is one of the most stylish, cool, absolutely trippy films you could watch. My number 3 would be $5 for an August Moon, which is a film that takes a little bit of patience compared to some of the rest of the Bava catalog, but I love. Actually, my fourth does too. Kill Baby Kill is just a luscious film to watch, but it is slow. Again, that's not a problem for me because I love it. And then number 5 is actually probably something from my childhood. Blood and Black Lace was one of the first like adult horror movies I really remember seeing on television, and even cut to pieces and faded, and you know, it left a really strong impression because that was one of my first times I saw what we would consider a modern slasher on screen. The mask wearing, claw hammer wielding psychopath. If you revisit it now on Blu-ray and see the film for what it is, it's actually a gorgeous, luscious film. But as a kid, it left that impression on me. I'd never seen a depiction of human violence on screen quite as stark. And that film is about as sleazy as Bava gets, which is the interesting thing, because even though we lump him in with the great giallo directors, he really was not interested in sleaze as a primary thing. Violence and even sexual violence he was okay with, but it was always done for a purpose as opposed to just for titillation.
Whipping the body, and he's I mean, I love his Hercules film. I just pretty much everything that he did. And if you're a cult movie fan, definitely check out Danger Diabolique. I want to say my first, actually, I'm almost 100% positive my first Bava film was Planet of the Vampires. Yeah, I vividly remember sitting down and watching that and just being in love with that movie. Still am, even though it's not at the top of my list, but yeah.
Dan, I got to tell you, if you and I were ever given money to make a movie, we would basically just remake Devil Girl from Mars.
Yeah.
I'm actually convinced that's what would happen. That is the ultimate fetish film.
Devil Girl from Mars would be a fun remake. I'll talk to Todd. We'll make it Flesh Wound Features.
Who do you think has the rights to that thing at this point?
I have no idea. I remember having a conversation when I was working with Conrad Brooks about, I don't know why that one came up because he has nothing to do with it, but I think it's public domain.
Then let's do this.
Sure.
Sam, you're not going to like where this leads.
I'm already Googling what this is.
I would remake While You Were Sleeping, because what happened to real romance? Why can't we have real love and romance anymore? You know?
Because Scream exists.
Because what?
Because Scream exists. That's why there can't be real love and romance.
Well, there was love in Scream. There was love there.
There were some tears in the theater for Scream.
Were they
5.
mine?
You cried for a different reason. They
Tears and
loved.
tears. There was like 2 other people in our screening.
Mine was almost sold out. There was like 4 empty seats like up front. So I'm curious to see what the box office is going to be.
Why does the devil girl from Mars look like a nun?
A hot nun.
Yeah,
Nun-
it looks like one of those Leg Avenue nun costumes.
Nunsploitation.
This would be space nuns.
Nuns to that.
Nice. What happened to the nunsploitation subgenre? We need more nunsploitation.
The problem with nunsploitation is there was never a secondary market for it. You couldn't sell television rights. You know,
That's true.
there was no. The other hell was never going to make the leap onto like the ABC movie of the week in 1988.
How awesome would that have been, though?
Tonight. The network television premiere of The Other Hell.
I want to see an A24 produced nunsploitation film directed by who'd be a good director? Ty West, starring Lorna, right up your alley, Christina Ricci.
So it's like
As-
Saint Maud with tits.
Say Maud had tits.
I mean, better tits.
Better tits.
No, it wouldn't be like St.
Christina
Maud.
Ricci's tits.
It would be more like While You Were Sleeping. But Ty West version of While You Were Sleeping, produced by A24, starring
With
Christina
nuns.
Ricci.
I think you've seen a different film called While You Were Sleeping. And I'm pretty sure that your internet browser
I'm
history
pretty
has
sure
been
it's
washed
non-consensual.
after every time you watch it.
Non-consensual. That's all I'll say. Non-consensual.
This is not nunsploitation. It's Nazi exploitation. But it's funny. A family member had to borrow my phone to make a call
Oh,
the other
no.
day, and one of my friends literally, and this flashes, and they see it. It's like, what's that Nazi exploitation movie where the dog bangs the girl? And I was
Decent
like, Salon Kitty. Yeah, there's a couple actually. So then my mom was like, "Do you want me to answer this for you?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, Salon Kitty." So, it was funny.
Just
My
tell them
friend.
Salon Kitty.
What is it, Ilsa, Wolf of the SS, something like that?
She Wolf of the SS and
Wolf of
Sam,
the SS. Thank you.
you got to watch the Ilsa films.
Yeah, although Siberia takes something to get all the way through.
Siberia makes no goddamn sense.
Because it was like 3 different movies they spliced together.
Yeah, and I think modern day Montreal, and she would be like 70 years old or something at that point. Didn't make any sense, but who cares? Still awesome.
So how was your family member's reaction to that?
Well, they know me. They know me.
Nazi bestiality. That they're like, that's just Dan.
And there's not one answer too, which is actually kind of sad because that happened in a few of those. All of those movies are basically the same damn movie. There's not much of a
Eventually, the concentration camp prisoners are going to escape and kill all the Nazis, and you get that same shot of the one falling out of the lookout nest.
Yes.
They're all the same movie. Yeah, I agree.
Get ravaged by the giant beast man, and it's pretty close. I have trouble keeping those together, to be honest. Like,
I'm hoping that in a far distant age, or maybe next Thursday, people's view of history is completely informed by the media that came out to represent it, and that people really believe that Nazis were trying to create abominable snowman super soldiers in the future, and that's going to be how we remember the period.
They actually made an asylum film called Nazis at the Center of the Earth. which Sam, add it to your list too. I know you've probably got a massive list now, but Jake Busey is actually in it, so you know it's quality.
So you know it's good. Yeah.
All right, you've kind of won me over with Jake Busey. I just, I need a palate cleanser after the Matrix franchise rewatch. That was exhausting.
Jake Busey could save anything. Like that Matrix movie. Don't get Keanu Reeves back. Just hand it to Jake Busey and don't acknowledge that you changed actors.
That's a good idea.
Did any of you guys bother watching Resurrections though? Because I mean, like,
I watched it, and towards the end, I almost started just multitasking because it was just like I was not liking that movie at all. That was, I don't know. I hated everything about it. I love Carrie Ann Moss though, and she deserves more credit.
Oh, yeah. She's wonderful.
Yeah, I do. I really love her. She deserves better though. She didn't make some of the best career choices, but go back and watch Memento. Memento's great.
Yeah, and the Bye Bye Man, she was great in that. And
I don't know if she was in that.
That's just a great
I've never
film.
seen Bye Bye Man.
Oh, Lauren.
The Bye Bye Man is the Slender Man movie we deserved.
That's right.
I make reference to it like nonstop as a bad movie, but I've never watched.
Don't sell yourself short on this one. Like if you really want to hate yourself, watch Slender Man, the actual movie, and then watch Bye Bye Man because it'll make you feel so much better about life. Now, Resurrections was kind of like pointless as Scream was. Just like but I have a new appreciation for the original trilogy. It's just Resurrections doesn't add anything to the overall story, and I'm tired of getting these movies that are just prequels, whatever we're calling them, and I'm just, why? Just give me something else.
Well, the simple answer is that you put 3 Spider-Man in a film and you have the biggest hit in 5 years. That's why
but they're actually doing something with a story. There's no
Hollywood doesn't. No.
Do anything.
Sam, you are trying to rationally view this. Hollywood doesn't do that. They sit there and say, "Well, what do we have that would stoke those same nostalgia itches?"
No, I agree. I totally agree. I know they are cash grabs. It's just a bummer, just because like the first 3 movies have so many things going on, like thematically, and then Resurrections is just, well, I mean, here the Matrix changed and here's what it changed into, but nothing matters because we're still in 2 layers of the Matrix and you're all still fucking programs. Cool. That was why. That was shiny and pretty.
So we just hit the hour point, and I don't think we can definitely top the fact that we're all simulations. So does anyone have any final words?
Somebody in the chat mentioned that they recommended The Black Coat's Daughter. I also recommend that film. Good movie.
It's definitely better than Perkins' follow-up.
That one was okay.
It's slight. It's a film that I wanted to like a lot, and I was trying to convince myself of some way to do it, but nah.
I've got to throw this up here real quick before I forget. Oh, anytime. Okay, there we go. Wasn't The Empty Man the deserved Slender Man film we got? Yes.
No.
That was the correct. That is the Slender Man movie we deserved.
The Empty Man was the Empty Man film we deserved, and we did.
Yeah, it is a tulpa still. It's still a tulpa. It still falls in that category.
Be your best tulpa, people. Right.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Dan.
Oh, that's okay.
Hollywood.
Yeah, I love that.
See if we can do it.
You okay, buddy?
You know, like, share, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Either way.
Do it if you like.
Nature.
Take a look.
Burned my skin. Futzed around in the water. Driftwood all over the beach.